So, the question is, are you an imposter? So what you've got is a questionnaire, and when you get a chance to complete that, you'll have an opportunity to identify whether you are likely to be experiencing imposterhood at any stage. I'll just give you a minute to complete that. As you're completing it, the first time that I put this together, of course, I had to test it myself, and there are 10 questions on that questionnaire, and I answered 8 of them yes, which meant that I certainly had a very high tendency to experience the imposter syndrome. And what about everybody here? About 70%? Great. Okay. And that's very typical, because the research consistently has said 70% of people will experience the imposter syndrome, and of the 100% that they have interviewed, 30% of people will experience it in a chronic level, which means it has huge impact on their lives. So where does this come from? Well, like a lot of things, it's a combination of nature and nurture, and the nurture aspect of it is if you have a perfectionist parent, somebody who focuses on the ideal scenario, what a perfectionist tends to do is look at what's actually been achieved and look at the ideal and focus on what's missing, not what's actually there. So it can be a really tough driver. The other one is if you've had a critical parent. And I don't in any way intend to disparage parents, because I think we all do the very best that we can. And we internalise the way that we've been brought up. So if you've had a critical parent, maybe somebody who kept saying, well, you know, with the best of intentions, I know you can do better, I know you can do better. So again, both perfectionist and critical aspects actually create the feeling of not being good enough. Sorry. So there are huge costs to this, huge costs. And I'd like to share a story with you. I have a great career. If I look at my resume, I have a fabulous career on paper. My challenge is I just can't relate to it. So when I look back, I've been lucky enough to get every job I've ever gone for, and my challenge has started on day one. I started working in advertising, and I was headhunted by George Patterson. I wound up walking into that job day one, no idea what was going on around me. So I put my head down and I worked like crazy for 12 months, 2 years, trying to figure out, you know, the rules of the game and trying to do a fabulous job. So what happened was, at the end of 2 years, I got a telephone call to go up to the managing director's office, and I thought, oh my God, this is it, I'm going to get fired. So it was 2 floors up. Instead of taking the lift, I actually walked up the stairs. And as I walked up the stairs, all I could think about was, be dignified, Suzanne, don't cry. Don't cry. I got into the managing director's office, and he was on the phone with his back to me. He turned around and he said to me, congratulations. It's like, what? He said, yes, congratulations, you're the first woman on the board of George Patterson Advertising. And I just looked at him and said, what? Why? Anyway, he said, well, because of the contribution that you've made and the contribution that you're going to make. I said, well, thank you. For 2 years I sat on that board. For 2 years I hid as best I could. How I thought I could as the only woman on the board, I don't know, but I did. For 2 years I did not make my contribution, and in the end I was so stressed out and so tense from this, keeping up this facade, that I wound up leaving and starting my own business. The challenge was that I took me with me. Now, work is not the only area that the imposter syndrome can sabotage us in. I have a very unkind friend who's a very quite well-known author, and she's actually said to me, I'm going to write a book on your love life. I've been married twice, divorced twice, lots of other relationships in between, and she thinks it'd make very good reading. She says to me, tell me how you look at relationships, I don't get it. And I said to her very chirpily, I actually have a 2-year use-by date, and I thought it was hilarious until I understood what I was saying. So as I was talking, I realized that after 2 years, what I do is I start pushing myself away. I start removing myself from the situation so that people don't get too close to me, so that I'm not exposed in any way. How do you sabotage yourself? It's an interesting question, isn't it? So one of the things that I love to do is travel, and I was with a friend who was visiting her grandmother in Laurieton, which is a lovely country town on the north coast of New South Wales. This particular night was a Saturday night, not much to do in Laurieton, so we went to the RSL. Now the RSL had the ballroom dancing grand finals on first, so we sort of chatted, had a few glasses of wine and chatted while they were on. And then there was a rock band, so as they were setting up, we were looking around and thinking, oh, it's starting to fill up, this looks like fun. A fellow came over to the table and said hello to everybody because he knew the other people at the table, and asked me if I'd like to dance. So I said, yeah, that'd be great. So I got up, and he was a really good dancer. You know, when you find somebody who knows what they're doing, it sort of improves my dancing, or maybe yours too. He was great, and he was moving and doing all the rock, you know, the twists and the turns and everything. And he suddenly had an incredibly enthusiastic twist, and as he did, his leg flew off across the room and landed beneath the stage with the sock and boot on it. Not a word of a lie. And I stood there, absolutely staggered. He didn't think twice about it. He just hopped across, picked it up and strapped it back on again. And he came back to me and he wanted to dance some more, and I just couldn't. To my embarrassment, I mumbled something and sat down. And you know, when I think about him, I think how courageous he was, how remarkable he was, to be up there rock and rolling, knowing he was going to lose his leg every week, because apparently everybody else knew about that and I didn't. And he did it anyway. He just, you know, didn't worry about that. And I think about, how do I restrict myself? How do you restrict yourself? And we've all got both legs, both arms, all our faculties, and yet so often we pull back from a fearful situation. So if you're deciding that maybe it's time to get past the imposter syndrome, come and have a conversation with me. It really is worth the journey. When you pull away the blinkers, when you remove that distorted view with which you look at yourself, you can see the magic in you that other people see and you can't. So I really encourage you to do that. I really encourage you to explore and reveal that talented stranger within. Thank you.